Representative Norton, thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, your district, and your professional career.
Well, I represent District 25B, and that is northeast and northwest Rochester. I came to the legislature basically with a background in heavy volunteerism. I did nonprofit work. I was the director for a nonprofit on math science related, and my academic background is in education. So while I never formally worked as a teacher, K-12, I worked in the area of special ed birth to 3. So I did home visits and I used my educational and special ed background that way. Very much enjoyed it. And because of some of that work, either as a volunteer or in my career, I advocated for children a lot on education and healthcare issues. So came into politics sort of in an unexpected way. I certainly never expected to end up doing politics at all, but have very much enjoyed the outreach and served on the school board for 8 years first and then ended up running for the House. So basically come at this work with an interest in policy more than politics.
What are your top legislative priorities?
Well, for this year, certainly it's a bonding year, and so there are a number of bonding projects, certainly 2 or 3 times, maybe a little bit more than that now, ideas and projects that are proposed than we can afford in the state. And so we've spent the summer driving around on a bus looking at those projects, and it'll be a tough decision, I think, to whittle that down into somewhat under $1 billion of bonding projects. So my local community has the Rochester Civic Center, Civic and Convention Center, really. It's growing from a local civic center from many years ago into a mid-size, pretty good size convention center that's needed for our community. So that's my local project, but there are a myriad of statewide projects that we really need to get moving, roads and bridges and other state infrastructure priorities.
What do you see as the biggest challenge facing your district?
Well, Rochester's a medical community, for one, and so I think the challenges locally are growing. We're a growing community, so how are we going to grow, and how are we going to grow in a really smart way? How can we be more than just a medical community? We have to look at other businesses and other concepts for entrepreneurial growth in our community, and so we've been doing that for the last couple of years. We have a really strong Economic Development Association as well as a Chamber of Commerce that works with the community, and so part of my job up here is to watch that and see if there are things that we can do to help our community grow in a very smart way, both environmentally and energy-wise, and then certainly the Destination Medical Center legislation that passed last year was a part of that, making certain that we have a really strong infrastructure to support the growth that we know is coming in the next 20 years.
What is the most difficult aspect of being a legislator?
Oh, hands down, it's the partisanship and the sometimes not very civil communication and behavior among politicians. I think I was also struck over the years not only by the partisanship issues, but also the differences in regional areas within a party. The Democratic caucus that I serve in has certainly folks heavily from the Twin Cities area, but then there are those of us who represent more outstate regions, agricultural, and the Iron Range, all within the caucus. And so meeting all those needs and remaining civil and beyond that, becoming friends. And I think that's a challenge up here sometimes in the legislature. How can we get to know each other as people and as friends so we can be more civilized when we work together when we disagree?
If given the chance, who would you like to be for a day, or who would you like to exchange roles with?
In my lifetime, one thing that I always kind of have an affinity for are, this is maybe going to seem strange, but ice skaters, and I was a gymnast, and that art, if you will, and that sport, if I could be a champion skater or gymnast for a day.